I never thought my wedding week would end with me in handcuffs. But there I was, sitting in a freezing jail cell, my knuckles bruised, my mind racing, and my entire life in shambles. Just 24 hours ago, I was planning my future with the woman I loved. Now, I was charged with assault, all because I caught her cheating 2 days before we were supposed to say I do. And the worst part? The guy she cheated with, her so-called co-worker Eric, was the one who got me arrested. But let's rewind. Let me tell you exactly how this all went down. It started with a gut feeling, a late-night drive, and a sight that turned my world upside down. 24 hours before I found myself in a jail cell, I was just a man about to marry the love of his life. Or at least, that's what I thought. That night, something felt off. Jessica had been acting strange for weeks, but I kept brushing it off as wedding stress. Maybe I was just overthinking things. Maybe she really was too busy. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, when my phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Ryan. "Dude, you need to see this. Now." Attached was a picture, and the moment my eyes landed on it, my stomach dropped. Jessica, wearing my engagement ring, sitting in some dimly lit bar, straddling another man's lap. Eric. I sat up so fast my head spun. My heart pounded in my ears. My mind screamed at me, telling me this had to be a mistake. I called Ryan immediately. "Tell me this isn't what it looks like." My voice was shaking. Ryan sighed on the other end. "Mark, I'm at the Raven's Nest right now. I've been watching them for the last 30 minutes. It's exactly what it looks like. She's not even trying to hide it, man." I couldn't breathe. "She said she was at her friend's place tonight," I muttered, gripping the edge of the bed so hard my knuckles turned white. Ryan hesitated. "Yeah, well, unless her friend is some 6-foot-tall douchebag with his hands all over her, she's lying." I was out of bed and throwing on my jacket before he even finished his sentence. "Stay there. Don't let them leave," I said, my voice flat. "Mark, think before you." I hung up before he could finish. I didn't think. I just drove. The Raven's Nest was only 15 minutes away, but it felt like the longest drive of my life. My hands were clenched around the steering wheel, my pulse racing. Thoughts crashed through my mind like a wrecking ball. Was she drunk? Did she even care about me? Had this been going on for weeks? Months? By the time I pulled up to the bar, my blood was boiling. I spotted them immediately. Jessica was draped over Eric like some desperate groupie, giggling into his ear. His hands were all over her. Her waist, her thighs, the same body I had worshipped for years. The same woman I had been planning to spend my entire life with. I don't remember getting out of my car. I don't remember crossing the bar. All I remember is the moment Jessica turned her head, locked eyes with me, and had the audacity to smile. "Oh, hey babe," she chirped like she had just run into me at the grocery store. Eric tensed, but he didn't move. I stepped closer, my hands curled into fists. My voice was deadly calm when I spoke. "What the is this?" Jessica rolled her eyes. "Oh, relax, Mark. It's not what it looks like. Not what it looks like. Not what it looks like." I let out a hollow laugh, shaking my head. "Then please, enlighten me. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my fiancée is rubbing herself all over some other guy 2 days before our wedding." Jessica groaned like I was being dramatic. "You're making a scene," she hissed. "Just go home. We'll talk about this later." "Later?" My voice rose. "Are you out of your mind? Later? There is no later, Jessica. You're cheating on me." Eric finally decided to open his mouth. "Dude, chill. You're overreacting." I turned to him so fast he flinched. "You shut the up," I snarled. "This isn't about you." Jessica scoffed, flipping her hair over her shoulder. "Oh my God, Mark. This is why I didn't tell you. You're always so intense." I blinked. "You didn't tell me?" My voice was eerily calm. "So you're admitting this wasn't a mistake?" She hesitated, just for a second, and that was all I needed. It wasn't a drunken accident. It wasn't a misunderstanding. She chose this. She chose him. I took a step back, exhaling shakily. My chest felt like it was caving in. I had spent years loving this woman, devoting myself to her, planning a future with her, and she threw it all away like it meant nothing. Jessica sighed. Look, Mark, I was going to tell you, after the wedding, that did it. That was the moment I snapped. Eric barely had time to react before my fist collided with his jaw. The satisfying crack echoed through the bar as he stumbled backward, crashing into a table. Jessica screamed. Someone shouted. And before I knew it, arms were grabbing me, pulling me back. Let me the go. I roared, thrashing against them. The bouncers weren't having it. One of them shoved me toward the door. Another was checking on Eric, who was groaning on the floor like the pathetic piece of he was. Jessica stood there, arms crossed, watching it all unfold like she was bored. Then she said the words that sealed her fate. I always knew you had anger issues. The bouncers dragged me outside before I could lunge at her again. Blue and red lights flashed in the distance. Someone had called the cops. And just like that, my life was over. The cold steel of the handcuffs bit into my wrists as the officer shoved me into the back seat of the squad car. My breathing was ragged, my heart hammering in my chest, but my mind was oddly still, numb. Jessica stood outside the bar, arms folded, watching me like I was some stray dog getting picked up off the street. She didn't look sad. She didn't look guilty. She looked annoyed. That was what broke me the most. Not the betrayal, not the humiliation. Not even the fact that Eric was the one who called the cops on me after I smashed his smug face in. It was Jessica's complete indifference to everything we had built. The officer slid into the front seat and radioed something in before glancing at me through the mirror. Should have walked away, man, he muttered. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth hurt. Walk away? Was that what I was supposed to do? Just pretend I hadn't caught my future wife cheating on me 2 days before our wedding? Just smile and say, no worries, babe. Let's forget this ever happened? The drive to the station was a blur. My pulse was still racing, adrenaline still pumping through my veins, but I was trapped, physically and mentally. No outlet, no escape. By the time we arrived, reality started to sink in. The officer hauled me out of the car, read me my rights, and led me inside like I was some low-life criminal. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as they processed me, took my fingerprints, my mugshot, and finally tossed me into a holding cell with a couple of drunk guys who smelled like piss and regret. I sat on the cold metal bench, my head in my hands. How did my life unravel this fast? Less than an hour ago, I was engaged. I had a future, a wedding, a life I thought was mine. And now, I was just another idiot who let love turn him into a fool. Time crawled. Minutes felt like hours. I had no idea how long I sat there before an officer finally walked up to the cell and called my name. Mark Reynolds. You've got someone here for you. I lifted my head, expecting Ryan, maybe my brother. But when I stepped out of the holding cell, I froze. Jessica. She stood there, arms crossed, looking at me through the plexiglass like I was some inconvenience. Like I was the problem. I walked up slowly, my fists clenched at my sides. What are you doing here? She sighed dramatically. Bailing you out. Because someone has to be the responsible one. I barked out a laugh. Responsible? That's rich coming from the who cheated 2 days before our wedding. She rolled her eyes. Are we really going to do this right now? Oh, I don't know, Jessica. Maybe because now is the perfect time to do this. Considering I just spent the last few hours in a jail cell because of you. She scoffed. Oh, please. You did that to yourself. Something in me snapped. I slammed my palm against the plexiglass, making her flinch. I wasted years on you, I growled. I planned a future with you. And this is how you repay me? By screwing some random guy behind my back? Jessica actually had the audacity to laugh. Oh my God, Mark. Get over yourself. It's not like I meant for you to find out. Are you even sorry? I demanded. She hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything I needed to know. I took a step back, shaking my head. You don't even care that you hurt me. She sighed, tapping her manicured nails against the counter. Look, are you done with this little tantrum? Because I already paid your bail, and I have better things to do than listen to you whine about your feelings. Better things to do. Like go home to Eric, probably. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. The officer unlocked the door and led me out. Jessica handed over the paperwork, barely sparing me a glance. "Come on," she said, turning toward the exit. I didn't move. She glanced back, annoyed. "What now?" I exhaled slowly. "I'm not going home with you." She blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." My voice was steel. "We're done, Jessica. You made your choice." She scoffed. "Oh, please. You're just saying that because you're mad. You'll come crawling back?" I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "I would rather spend another night in that and jail cell than spend another second with you." For the first time, she actually looked surprised. But I didn't wait for her response. I turned and walked out into the night, the cold air hitting my face like a slap. I had no car, no phone, no idea where I was going. But I knew one thing for damn sure. I was never looking back. The cold night air hit me like a punch to the gut as I stepped out of the police station. I had no car, no phone, and nowhere to go, but none of that mattered. All that mattered was that I was done with Jessica. I had wasted years on that woman, years believing she was my soulmate, that we were building a future together. And the whole time, she was laughing behind my back, cheating, lying, planning to marry me while sneaking around with some other guy like I was just a placeholder. My hands curled into fists. I had never felt this level of rage before. It was like every emotion I had ever suppressed was boiling over, ready to explode. I needed to move. I started walking, not even sure where I was going. My feet hit the pavement hard, my mind replaying every red flag I had ignored. The sudden girls' nights out that came out of nowhere. The way she always guarded her phone like a state secret. The way she suddenly needed space after years of being attached to me. And I had been blind. So blind. I was halfway down the street when I heard footsteps behind me. At first, I ignored them. Probably just some random guy leaving the station. But then I heard a voice I really didn't want to hear right now. "Mark, wait." "Jessica." I stopped dead in my tracks. Slowly, I turned to face her. She was standing under a street lamp, arms crossed, looking bored, like she had just called out to me out of obligation, not because she actually cared. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice flat. She sighed, rolling her eyes. "Don't be dramatic." My vision went red. "I spent the night in a jail cell because of you, Jessica. I think I have the right to be a little dramatic." She had the audacity to laugh. "Oh, please. You spent a couple of hours in a holding cell because you lost your temper. That's on you, not me." My fists clenched. "So let me get this straight. You cheat on me. You get caught. You refuse to apologize. And somehow, this is my fault?" She shrugged. "I mean, yeah." I had never wanted to strangle someone so badly in my life. Jessica sighed, stepping closer. "Look, I don't want to fight. She hesitated, then pouted. "I don't think we should throw everything away over a stupid mistake." I blinked. "A mistake?" She smiled sweetly. "Yeah. I mean, come on, Mark. It's not like I planned for you to find out." I stared at her, trying to process if she had actually just said that out loud. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, my voice dangerously low. She flipped her hair over her shoulder, annoyed. "I'm just saying, you're blowing this way out of proportion." I took a slow, deep breath. "Jessica, you cheated on me 2 days before our wedding. That is not a small thing. That is not a whoops, my bad moment. That is deliberate betrayal." She groaned. "Oh my God, Mark, can you stop being such a victim? People cheat all the time. It's not that deep." I actually took a step back, like she had physically hit me. She really didn't care. She really, truly didn't give a single about what she had done to me. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. "You're unbelievable." She rolled her eyes. "Look, I know you're mad. But let's be real. You're not gonna call off the wedding over one little mistake." That was the moment I realized Jessica wasn't just a liar. She was delusional. She actually thought I was still going to marry her. I let out a humorless laugh. "Jessica, the wedding is off." Her face dropped. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," I said, stepping closer. "I am done with you." She scoffed. "Oh, come on, Mark. You're just saying that because you're pissed. Give it a few days, you'll calm down." I shook my head. No, I won't. She stared at me, realization finally dawning. Wait, you're serious? Dead serious. For the first time since this whole nightmare started, Jessica actually looked panicked. Mark, don't be stupid, she snapped. Do you have any idea how much money has gone into this wedding? The venue, the catering, the dress? You really want to waste all of that just because your ego is bruised? My jaw tightened. None of that matters anymore. She huffed, crossing her arms. God, you are such a child. I exhaled sharply. Goodbye, Jessica. I turned to walk away, but she grabbed my arm. Wait. I yanked my arm free. Don't touch me. She glared at me. Fine, but don't expect me to take the blame for this. I let out a bitter laugh. Oh, trust me, Jessica. Everyone's gonna know exactly why this wedding was called off. She paled slightly. You wouldn't. I smirked. Watch me. Then I walked away, not looking back. She screamed something at me, but I didn't care. I was done. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. The walk away from Jessica should have felt like a victory, like breaking free from a prison I hadn't even realized I was locked in. But as I moved down the empty streets, the weight of everything pressed harder against my chest. I had spent years with that woman, built a life with her, planned a future. And in a single night, all of it was gone. The anger was still there, boiling under my skin. But beneath it was something worse. Humiliation. Everyone knew we were getting married. Friends, family, co-workers, hell, even the barista at my usual coffee shop had congratulated me last week. And now? I was going to be the guy who got left in the dirt, the guy who was too blind to see what was right in front of him. Jessica didn't just cheat. She mocked me. She had zero guilt, zero remorse. And the worst part? She thought I'd forgive her. She thought I'd just roll over and let her get away with it. Never. I needed to get out of this town, or at least out of the mess she had created. My first instinct was to call Ryan, but my phone was still at the bar, probably still sitting on the damn table where I had left it before everything went to hell. Instead, I kept walking, moving aimlessly through the streets, trying to clear my head. I didn't notice the car following me at first. It wasn't until I turned onto a quieter street, the streetlights flickering above me, that I heard the low hum of an engine creeping up behind me. My instincts kicked in, the same gut feeling that had told me something was off when I had first noticed Jessica acting strange. I turned around just as the black SUV rolled to a stop a few feet away. The window rolled down, and my stomach twisted into knots when I saw who was sitting in the driver's seat. Eric, Jessica's little side project. The smug bastard was grinning like he had just won the lottery, his left eye still swollen from where I had punched him. He had a cigarette hanging from his lips, his fingers drumming lazily against the steering wheel. You look like you could use a ride, he said, his voice dripping with fake concern. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. Off. Eric chuckled, shaking his head. Come on, man. No hard feelings, right? I mean, if you really think about it, you should be thanking me. I took a step closer, barely resisting the urge to rip him out of the car. Thanking you? He smirked. Yeah, I saved you from marrying a lying. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's fun to mess around with, but wife material? Not a chance. The words hit me like a hammer. Every rational part of me told me to walk away, to be the bigger man. But I wasn't in the mood to be rational. Not anymore. I lunged. Eric barely had time to react before I grabbed him through the open window, my fingers wrapping around the collar of his shirt. The cigarette fell from his mouth as his eyes went wide. Whoa, hey, man. I didn't let him finish. My fist connected with his jaw so hard that his head snapped back against the seat. The SUV rocked as he scrambled to push me off, but I wasn't done. I yanked the car door open, dragging him out onto the pavement. He cursed, trying to shove me away, but I slammed him against the side of the SUV, my forearm pressing against his throat. You think this is funny? I growled. You think you can just with my life and walk away? Eric gasped, clawing at my arm. Jesus, dude, calm the down. I didn't move. I wanted to hurt him. I wanted to break every bone in his smug, cheating face. But as much as I hated him, as much as I wanted to make him suffer, I knew deep down that he wasn't the real problem. Jessica was. She was the one who had made the promises. She was the one who had lied to me. And Eric? He was just another lowlife who thought he could do whatever he wanted without consequences. I shoved him back against the car one last time before letting go. He stumbled, coughing, his hands flying to his throat. He wheezed. "You're insane, man." I stepped back, breathing heavily, my fists still clenched. "Stay the away from me." Eric straightened, rubbing his jaw. "Oh, don't worry. After tonight, I don't think I want to be anywhere near your crazy." I turned to leave, my adrenaline still surging. But just as I took my first step away, Eric spoke again, his voice laced with amusement. "Oh, by the way," he called out, "she still has your ring. Probably gonna pawn it. Thought you should know." I stopped. For a second, I debated going back and finishing what I started, but I forced myself to keep moving. Let him think he won. Let him think he got away with it. Because this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I wasn't just going to walk away and let Jessica come out of this looking like the victim. She had taken everything from me. Now, I was going to make damn sure she paid for it. The night air felt heavier as I walked away from Eric's smug, bruised face. My knuckles ached from the impact, but I barely noticed. My mind was spinning, a storm of rage and humiliation crashing against each other like waves in a hurricane. Jessica still had my ring. My ring. The one I had spent months saving up for, carefully picking out, making sure it was exactly what she wanted. And now, she was probably sitting at home, laughing, planning how much she could pawn it for or, worse, shoving it on another man's finger. The thought made my blood boil. She had already taken my dignity, my future, my trust, but she wasn't going to take my on the ring. I needed to get it back. I had no phone, no car, no backup. But I didn't need any of that. I knew exactly where Jessica would be. Our apartment. Or rather, her apartment now. I started walking, each step fueled by anger and a burning need for closure. I should have felt exhausted, but adrenaline kept me moving. The city lights blurred around me as I made my way across town, barely aware of anything except my own fury. By the time I reached our building, my hands were clenched into fists so tight my nails dug into my skin. I didn't hesitate. I stormed up the stairs, taking them two at a time until I reached the door. For a brief second, I considered knocking, but then I remembered who I was dealing with. Jessica didn't deserve respect. I pushed the door open, stepping inside. There she was. Jessica was sprawled out on the couch, her legs draped over the armrest, scrolling through her phone like she didn't have a single care in the world. She hadn't even changed out of the dress she had worn earlier, the same one she had probably been wearing while Eric. She looked up when she heard me. Instead of shock or guilt, her expression twisted into pure annoyance. "Oh, for sake," she groaned, rolling her eyes. "Now what?" I took a step forward, my voice calm but firm. "Where's my ring?" Jessica smirked, setting her phone down on her stomach. "Why? You want to put it on someone else already?" My jaw tightened. "Give it back." She yawned, stretching like a cat. "Yeah, no. I think I'll keep it." I clenched my fists. "Jessica, I swear." She sat up, tilting her head mockingly. "You swear what? You gonna call the cops?" "Oh wait, you already did that, and look how well that turned out for you." My hands shook with rage. "That ring doesn't belong to you." She scoffed. "Oh please. You gave it to me. And guess what? No refunds." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her, shake her, make her understand what she had done. But there was no point. Jessica wasn't just a liar. She was a black hole. Nothing you gave her, love, trust, money, ever came back. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Fine. Keep the damn ring." Jessica raised an eyebrow. "Oh, just like that?" I smiled. A cold, empty smile. "Yeah, but you should probably know. I canceled the wedding venue, the caterers, everything. And since all of that was in your name, you're the one who has to pay the cancellation fees." Jessica's smirk vanished. "Wait, what?" I shrugged, turning toward the door. "Good luck with that." She shot up from the couch. "Mark, what the did you do, asterisk?" I didn't answer. I walked out, slamming the door behind me, leaving her screaming my name in frustration. It wasn't enough. Not yet, but it was a start. And I was just getting warmed up. Jessica's furious voice was still ringing in my ears as I walked down the hallway. I could picture her in there, pacing, phone in hand, scrambling to undo the mess I had left her with. The realization that she'd be drowning in bills, stuck with a worthless ring and no wedding, brought the first real sense of satisfaction I had felt in days. But it still wasn't enough. Jessica thought she could ruin my life and walk away unscathed? No. She had taken everything from me. My trust, my dignity, my future. It was time to make sure she felt even a fraction of the pain she had put me through. I wasn't done yet. I had one more move left to play. I made my way to Ryan's apartment. My best friend had been calling nonstop, probably wondering where the hell I had disappeared to after everything went down. When he opened the door and saw me standing there, looking like I had just walked out of a war zone, he shook his head. Dude, you look like... I smirked, stepping inside. Feel like it too. Ryan shut the door behind me, arms crossed. Where the hell have you been? I dropped onto his couch, rubbing my face. Handling things. He sat across from me, waiting. Tell me you didn't do anything too stupid. I exhaled. Depends on your definition of stupid. Ryan groaned. What did you do? I canceled everything. The venue, the catering, the flowers, all of it. I grinned. And since it was all in Jessica's name, she's the one stuck paying for it. Ryan's eyes widened. Then he let out a low whistle. Damn, that's cold. Not cold enough, I muttered. He leaned forward. All right, so what's next? Because I know that look. You're not done. I wasn't. Jessica needed to be exposed. She had spent years building this image of the perfect fiancée, the perfect woman. Our friends, our families. Hell, even my mother had loved her. She had everyone fooled. But not anymore. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the messages she had sent me over the past few weeks. The lies, the sweet nothings, the empty promises. And then, I went to my hidden folder. The screenshots of her texts with Eric, the ones I had pulled from her laptop before leaving. The ones where she mocked me, where she planned to keep me around just long enough to drain me for everything I had before running off with him. Ryan's eyes widened as he glanced at my screen. Holy. I smirked. Yeah, holy. He looked up at me, a slow grin spreading across his face. You're gonna blow this up, aren't you? I nodded. She wanted to play games. Let's play. The next morning, the storm hit. I sent the screenshots everywhere. To her family, to her friends, to our mutual acquaintances. I even sent them to the wedding vendors, just for good measure. But the real masterpiece? I posted them on her social media, with a simple caption. This is the woman I was supposed to marry. Thought you all should know. And then I sat back and watched. The explosion was immediate. Jessica's phone blew up. My phone blew up. Our friends flooded the comments, some in shock, some in disgust. People who had always thought she was the perfect fiancée suddenly saw the truth. And Jessica? She lost it. I could imagine the scene. Her waking up, lazily scrolling through her phone, only to find her entire world burning down around her. The first call came within minutes. I didn't answer. The second, the third, ignored. Then the messages started. Jessica, WTF are you doing? Take that down now. Asterisk asterisk. Jessica, Mark, I swear to God, I'm going to kill you. Asterisk asterisk. Jessica, answer me, you coward. I laughed. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't begging for forgiveness. She was just mad that she got caught. Ryan looked over my shoulder and snorted. Damn, dude, you really set her on fire. I leaned back, satisfied. She deserves worse. And then, the final message came in. Jessica, you think this is funny? You think this is over? You have no idea what's coming. Asterisk asterisk. A chill ran down my spine. I stared at the words on the screen, my grip tightening on my phone. Jessica wasn't the type to just roll over and accept defeat. And if there was one thing I had learned about her over the years, it was that she was dangerous when she felt cornered. Ryan must have seen the look on my face because his expression turned serious. What? I showed him the message. He frowned. You think she'll actually do something? I exhaled slowly. I don't know. But I had a bad feeling. A really bad feeling. This wasn't over. Not yet. I barely had time to process Jessica's message before my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't her. It was a friend from our old social circle. The text was short but heavy. Dude, she's losing it. You might want to watch your back. I knew Jessica wouldn't take the humiliation lying down. She was too proud, too obsessed with control. Now that her perfect image had been shattered, she was dangerous. But what could she actually do? What more could she take from me? I was about to find out. The next evening, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I picked up. A familiar voice, dripping with venom, slithered through the speaker. You really thought you could do this to me and just walk away? Jessica. Her tone was different now. Not mocking. Not playful. Cold. I didn't say a word. She laughed bitterly. You ruined me, Mark. My family won't even talk to me. My job found out. My friends, she scoffed. Guess they were never really my friends. You turned everyone against me. I should have felt guilty. Maybe if she had been a different person, if she had shown even a shred of real remorse, I would have. But not Jessica. She wasn't sorry for what she had done. She was just sorry she got caught. I stayed silent. Jessica exhaled sharply. Fine. If you want to act like this is over, go ahead. But you better watch yourself. Then she hung up. A threat. I wasn't scared, but I should have been. The first sign of trouble came the next morning. A knock at my door. I opened it to find 2 police officers standing there, their faces unreadable. Mark Reynolds, one of them asked. My stomach sank. Yeah, we need to talk. My mind raced. Had Jessica really done something this crazy? But what could she have possibly told them? They led me inside, closing the door behind them. One officer pulled out a notepad while the other spoke. We received a report from your ex-fiancée, Jessica Miller. She's claiming that you've been harassing her, sending threatening messages, stalking her. I laughed. Actually laughed. You're kidding, right? I asked, shaking my head. She's the one who's been blowing up my phone. Check my call logs, my texts. I haven't responded to a single one. The officers exchanged glances. Mind if we take a look? I handed over my phone without hesitation. They scrolled through the messages, their expressions shifting. It was all there. Her rage, her threats, her unhinged rants. Not a single response from me. One of the officers sighed, closing the phone and handing it back. Looks like she left that part out. No kidding, I muttered. The second officer shook his head. Listen, we'll talk to her. But be careful. Women like this, when they feel like they're losing control, they get desperate. I nodded. I already knew that. Jessica had played her last card, and it failed. Now she had nothing left but her own anger. And that made her unpredictable. I kept my guard up for the next few days, but Jessica stayed quiet. No calls, no texts, no sudden visits. It was like she had disappeared. But then, the final blow came. A letter, delivered straight to my door, slipped under the crack like a ghost had placed it there. I picked it up, my pulse quickening. The envelope was plain, no name, no return address. Just a single sheet of paper inside. A printed photo of me, taken the night before, while I was sitting on my couch, watching TV. A chill ran down my spine. Jessica had been here, outside my window, watching. I flipped the photo over. One sentence was scrawled on the back in red ink. You should have married me. My blood turned to ice. This wasn't just anger anymore. This was obsession. I needed to end this. I wasn't stupid. I knew going to Jessica directly would be a mistake. She had already proven she was willing to twist the truth, to play the victim if it meant dragging me down with her. So I went to the police. Again. This time, I didn't just have text messages. I had proof. The officers took the letter, the photo. They listened, really listened this time. One of them, Detective Holloway, nodded grimly. This isn't just harassment anymore, he said. This is stalking. I swallowed hard. So what happens now? We'll take care of it. And they did. Jessica was arrested the next morning. I found out through a mutual friend that she lost it when they showed up at her door. Screaming, sobbing, thrashing like a wild animal. She claimed I had set her up, that I was the real stalker. But the evidence was stacked against her. The restraining order was issued that same day. She was banned from coming within 500 feet of me. It was over. For real, this time. I thought I would feel relief, that I would wake up the next morning with a weight lifted off my chest. But instead, all I felt was exhaustion. Betrayal does that to you. It drains you, eats away at you until there's nothing left but a hollow shell of the person you used to be. Jessica had been my everything, the woman I had planned to spend my life with, and she had thrown it all away like it meant nothing. I wasn't the same person anymore, and maybe that was a good thing. In the end, Jessica disappeared from my life. She moved out of the city, started fresh somewhere else, but I didn't care. She was gone. And I started over too. It wasn't easy. Healing never is. But I learned. I learned that love isn't just about what someone says. It's about what they do. I learned that trust isn't something you give blindly. And most of all, I learned that sometimes losing someone isn't a tragedy. It's a blessing.